The Little Mermaid. Once upon a time, there was a little mermaid. She lived in a kingdom deep underwater. She was a princess with 5 older sisters. She was the youngest, so everyone called her the Little Mermaid. The Little Mermaid had a beautiful voice. She lived in a beautiful palace. It was made of bright coral and shells. The palace had a big garden with flowers. The sea animals were friends of the Little Mermaid. The Little Mermaid liked to spend time with her grandmother. Sometimes the grandmother told her stories about humans. The Little Mermaid loved those stories. She wanted to go and see the human world. But she could not go yet. She had to wait until she turned 15. The Little Mermaid sisters had seen the human world. They came back with exciting stories.
I saw ships and towns,
said one sister.
I saw birds and big clouds,
said another. What is a bird? The Little Mermaid asked.
They are fish on trees,
the sister answered. The Little Mermaid wanted to see more. Finally, the Little Mermaid turned 15. She was very happy and excited. She quickly swam up to the surface. The sky was beautiful and blue. Then, she saw a big ship with many people. There was a party for the prince's birthday. The prince had kind eyes and a beautiful smile. The Little Mermaid watched him from the water. She fell in love with him at first sight. Suddenly, there was a big storm. The wind was strong and wild. The waves rocked the ship left and right. The ship started to break, and people fell into the sea. The Little Mermaid looked for the prince.
He should not die,
she thought. The Little Mermaid found the prince in the water. She hugged him and took him to the beach. She saved him from the storm. The prince was alive, but he was asleep. The Little Mermaid stayed beside the prince. The prince did not know she was there. Then a human princess walked by. The Little Mermaid quickly hid behind a rock. The human princess called other people for help. The prince opened his eyes. He could only see the human princess.
Thank you for saving my life,
said the prince. The Little Mermaid saw everything, and she dived back into the sea. Back at the palace, she wanted to see the prince again. She thought about him every day. She wanted him to love her. But she was a mermaid, and he was a human. The Little Mermaid asked many questions to her grandmother.
Grandmother, how long do humans live?
She asked.
We mermaids live for 300 years. And then we turn into bubbles. But humans live only for 80 or 90 years. Then their souls go up to the sky. Their souls stay there forever.
The Little Mermaid wanted a human soul. She wanted to live with the prince. She also wanted to walk on land. Her tail was beautiful, but she wanted to walk with her feet. The Little Mermaid sisters saw their youngest sister.
What is wrong, sister?
One of them asked.
Nothing,
the Little Mermaid answered. She could not tell them about the prince. She often went above the water. Sometimes she saw the prince in the castle. He seemed to have a happy life with his family and friends. One day, the little mermaid went to the sea witch.
Maybe she can turn me into a human,
she thought. The sea witch was scary and powerful. She lived in a dark cave. The sea witch knew the little mermaid's wish.
I can make special water. This water will give you legs. But the prince must marry you. If he does not, you will die,
said the witch. The little mermaid was scared.
Okay, give me the water,
she said.
Also, I want your voice,
said the witch. The little mermaid thought for a while. She loved to sing with her beautiful voice. She hesitated, then finally said,
Take my voice.
So, the witch gave her the magic water. The little mermaid drank it. The next morning, the little mermaid opened her eyes. She was near the prince's castle. She had 2 human legs, but she felt great pain. The prince found her on the beach.
Maybe this girl hurt her legs,
he thought. He took care of her in the castle. They spent many days together. The little mermaid wanted to talk to the prince. But without her voice, she could not talk to him. The prince did not know the little mermaid had saved him. He thought it was the human princess who had saved him.
She is not the one who saved you. It was me.
The little mermaid spoke with her eyes. The little mermaid was sad, but she always stayed with the prince. She hoped he would love her. One day, the prince decided to marry the human princess. The little mermaid was heartbroken. She wanted to tell him the truth. The day of the wedding came. There was a big celebration on a ship. Everyone was happy except for the little mermaid. She knew it was the day of her death. The prince and the human princess got married.
I will die before morning comes,
the little mermaid thought. That night, the little mermaid was looking at the sea. She saw bubbles on the water.
What is that?
She thought. It was her sisters who came to find her.
Sister, we know everything now. Please do not die,
the sisters cried.
We know a way to save you,
they said.
Kill the prince with this knife. Then you can live.
One sister threw the knife onto the ship. The little mermaid thought for a long time. She did not want to kill the prince. But she also did not want to die. The little mermaid held the knife. She went to the prince's room. She looked at the sleeping prince. She loved him, so she could not kill him. The little mermaid went out to the deck again. Then she threw the knife into the sea. The water around the knife turned red. She decided to leave the prince. The little mermaid jumped into the sea. But she could not swim because she did not have a tail. She sank deep into the water. Morning came, but the little mermaid was still alive. And her tail was back. She was surprised.
I did not turn into bubbles,
she thought. Then something magical happened. A fairy appeared and said to her, I am the fairy of air. If you show kindness, you can have a soul, and you can live forever. The little mermaid suffered, but she showed kindness. So, as the Fairy of Air said, her soul went up to the sky. And she lived forever.